Okay, so we are back in the garage and we are now going to install the CarPlay head unit into the 2004 A6 S line. So as you can see, it's a simple installation really. Yeah, maybe not so much. CarPlay unit here, and then we have adapter harnesses. It's actually this harness here. We'll plug it into the back of the head unit here, which plugs into that unit here. And then we have this apparently steering wheel control module thing here that somehow gets tied into all this as well. And I have to program that using a laptop. So I think I'm actually gonna start running some of these cables. This is the GPS antenna. And not all head units will have this. This particular one does. So this is going to go on the top of the dash somewhere, kind of discreet up by the front of the windshield probably. Plugs into the back there. And then we have the remote mic, plugs in here. And I also have all of this stuff because I have a mono power amp which goes on a bracket which will mount on the back of this, and it will sit discreetly behind the head unit, which, the head unit install part of it isn't really that horrible, I don't think. The more fun will come when we have to wire this amplifier, and we have to get through the firewall to the battery with this. And yeah, as you can see, not a sponsored thing, but it did come from Crutchfield. The amp gets powered off of the battery direct, through the firewall somewhere, and it kind of was looking for some potential spots, and we're not exactly sure where we're going to go through with that yet, but we got to do that, and then we got to wire the speaker wire to the trunk for a sub eventually. We'll see how far we can get today. My brain is not truly that functional due to lack of sleep. So we'll see what this process looks like, but we're gonna at least try to get some of this in place, or maybe get the amp and the head unit in place, and then I can always wire the amp in later is my thought. So we'll see how this goes. But I think, like I said, I'm gonna start wiring some of this stuff in just so it's in place, and also look at programming that Maestro unit. So I got to go grab a laptop for that. So as you can see, I'm installing the WebLink, basically Maestro driver, because we're gonna have to program this little unit just because we want to retain steering wheel controls, which isn't that big a deal for a lot of you, I'm sure. It just sort of came bundled with the package that we chose, so we're going to go ahead and do that, and hopefully it still works, because it is kind of nice having volume and whatnot on the steering wheel. So I've already downloaded it, I've done the install, and I'm going to keep moving forward here. And of course, the first step is to create an account so I can log in and do this. So if you can see this, basically now it's all connected. USB, and I can flash by vehicle at this point once I download the app and sign in and all that. Pretty straightforward. I'm gonna go ahead and flash that, and we'll let you know if there's any problems. So hopefully you can see this, but this is kind of cool. You can program your seek buttons, obviously, but if you do a hold, you can have it have a different function on both sides. So I'm probably gonna set one of these to activate Siri, for example. Should be kind of handy. So hopefully you can see this. We've got, if you push and hold, I can answer the call on the left side and hang up on the left side, and on the right side I can activate Siri or change the source based on the button. Pretty cool. And then you can just basically send the flash, and it will flash it to the unit. You can see it working here. And voila, that's all there was to it. Pretty cool. It's actually not terrible, because if you buy this on Crutchfield for your car and you pop for the extra kit, This was actually easy to update and download everything, and then it pretty much just plugs into their other harness as it's designed to work together. And let's see, then we've got the antenna adapter, and that will actually go to the power antenna lead. So this is about the only thing I need to actually put an inline connector for. And this harness custom adapter will plug into the back of the radio. Then I'll have my other factory harness here that will plug into the other one that will serve as my pre-outs for the amplifier. So it's not terrible. And then you have the GPS and your mic. I'm just trying to figure out the steering wheel control lead. This is my only question at this point. I got to figure out where this thing goes, and I'm guessing maybe right here, but we shall see. I don't know. I got to figure that out. And here we are car side. Got the little GPS antenna mounted up in the corner. This is the other end of it, which will eventually plug into the back of the new head unit, but I have routed that using some little tools here down around here, and it's going to tuck up under here and go all the way behind here across. And then I need to get a tool longer than the screwdriver here that I was trying. I just taped I've got a USB and a microphone input on it currently, but it needs to go up here ultimately. So I'm going to route those up here, because I'm going to then route the lines back down under this and have them come up on the side or somewhere around here. I got to figure out where he wants the microphone and USB, because usually he has his phone sitting like right about here. So I'll probably have it just pop up right here in the side for him, and then stick the microphone back in here or something. Not entirely sure on the mic yet. That could potentially go up over on that pillar as well. But for now, I think we're gonna go back up under there. So here we are the next morning, continuing, and we have some of the wiring in place here off of the battery. It's going through the firewall right over there. You can see the nice connection there. That little nipple serves as a great entry point. So I just got to make sure that that wiring loom is low so that it comes up to that point, because the last thing you want it to do is to have moisture track in via that. So I'm going to push that down a little bit before we call it good, but then we'll put a little sealant around that. But that is where the amp, power, and ground go through. And then going back to the car, we got Ben in here working on getting the trim out to run all the fun. You should open the, yeah, there we go. So he's removing that so we can run speaker wire down the side of the car to go to the trunk. And then this unholy mess in here has to all fit in the dash. So this giant mess is the radio, and the radio has an amp that sits on the back of it. So we've been wiring the amp wire over here. Got to get speaker wire and amp wire coming in here, and then this is the faceplate that will go on. And I had to modify the edge of this in order to fit the exiting. Well, actually, that's for the amp gain adjustment, and this is for wiring loom, or vice versa, one of the two. So we can get all of this to fit. My concern is this is not a super deep area here, so as you can see, there is a ton of stuff that needs to go back there. This is the Maestro steering wheel control, so all of that needs to go in there very soon. So as expected, this doesn't fit at all with all those wires, because there's very limited room behind this radio. And if you're doing it without the amplifier, it would fit just fine, but that amplifier takes up a lot of the room that we desperately need. So that's about as close as we're getting. So yeah, we'll just put a little tape up here and finish off the look, and we'll just send it, right?
Nope.
So rodeo part 4, we now have, basically what happened, we didn't have sound is because when we were putting this in, these ended up disconnecting themselves because it was so tight back there, something pushed against it. And I've never seen this in my life, but we managed to unplug 4 of them in one shot. I had them kind of tucked in down there, but something must have got them uniform, and that was bizarre. So now we have them all bundled and taped, which I was trying to, the smaller bundles I have, the better I am to work with here, but we'll see. Now we have to try to get all this mess back in there, and hope it works once it does. So here we go again. So I have this in the dash, sort of, and by sort of I mean it doesn't fit great. There's very limited space behind the dash on these for aftermarket radios, and especially if you were just to do this Alpine unit by itself, it would be fine. But in our case, we have the optional and additional amplifier that mounts to the rear of the unit, which takes up even more space. So now we have to get that. We have a steering wheel control adapter, being that this is, got the controls here. All of that has to fit behind the dash. And now, in my haste to get this to fit, I forgot to install the ground loop isolators, and you can hear it. I don't know if you can hear that on... It sounds a little Tesla-like. It makes a little EV noises. So you're picking up alternator whine, and you've got a ground loop issue. So going to have to now fit those. And I'll show you those ground loop isolators here in a second. You've probably seen them before, but it's just a little box with some more RCA cables, which further complicates things because there's no room back here already, and now I need even more room where there's no room. And this kit, as you see, does not fit properly. It leaves much to be desired. In fact, I think it's sticking out even further on this side than it was initially. So that annoys me to no end when, these, custom fit things don't fit worth a bleep. So I need to see what I can do to further refine the bundling of the audio wires behind the system. The trouble is you only have so much to work with, and you need some slack to actually bring the radio out to get it connected before you go back, in with the thing. So there's only so much you can do, and cutting out, there's not a lot of extra stuff in here. It's just the length of the harness that they give you, and then combined with the add-on amplifier on the back of the radio, simply makes it so that things just don't fit well. And so this has been one of the, I've done a bunch of radios. I've probably done 12 radios in cars, including a number of these, kind of doubled in CarPlay setups. And this is probably the least pleasant one that I've done so far. So, I noticed his clock is off still. So anyhow, I need to try to get this out again, which it fits so poorly and so tightly that even getting it out is often 10 minutes of sweating and swearing. So all camera cut with that, because you probably would enjoy seeing me suffer like that, but we'll see how that goes. And this is what I get to install. In fact, the downside is I get to install at least 2 of these because you get one for the front speakers and for the rear speakers, and you can see they're not tiny. So now I've got to get this box in there with this additional wire. Yeah, that's going to be fun because we're already out of room. So I got to get a little creative with this. Unfortunately, this has to, I'm thinking if I can undo this, I might be able to hide these boxes in the side of the center console with a little creative wiring. So that's my hope. If there's a little bit of room in the side, I can tuck these away in there. Hey everybody, we are back in the garage and back working on the A6. The C5 A6 2.7 with the CarPlay update. Now, in the last little segment, you saw how I foolishly forgot to put the ground loop isolators in there, and I maybe was subliminally hoping that it would work without them because I have such limited space in that setup. So that's not going to work because we have a terrific amount of ground loop hum on that car, so we need to put them in anyway, and that's what I'm about to do. But it is now July 5th here in the Minneapolis area, and while it's not that hot, it's maybe 75 degrees or 78 degrees, something like that. I think we're going to have a high of 80 degrees Fahrenheit here today. It is currently like 96% humidity, so it is kind of like stepping into a lukewarm shower. It's just disgusting. And this is one of the things that I absolutely hate about working on cars in, not a climate controlled area. I've got this wonderful garage here that's, just a mess, and it's really cold in the winter, and it's just hot and miserable in the summer, and it's really, really small. So it makes things a challenge, so living with a small fleet of vintage Audis is sometimes a challenge. So we're gonna go out. I'm setting up a fan just to keep some air movement through this car as I'm forced to work in there and pull the head unit out yet again. So we're gonna do that and hopefully get it out and figure out why also it's not triggering my the amp is not turning on. So the trigger wire, I don't know if it came undone while trying to force that mess into the car, but we got another day of fun. We'll see how long this takes, but here we go. So this is kind of what it takes to work on a car here. Twofold. Keeps me a little bit cooler, but also helps with something we have here in Minnesota called mosquitoes, and it's one of the banes to my existence. These stupid mosquitoes absolutely eat me alive. So I'm out here trying to work in the garage or out in the driveway, and I live right next to a marsh, right there. And it is full of mosquitoes, and I can spray and do my best to try to keep the populations down, but it just never seems to work. And so they're just kind of like a plague that we always live with. Anyhow, before I sound like I'm too old and yell at kids to get off my lawn, let's jump in. So as you saw earlier in the video, you noticed that the fitment of this particular aftermarket kit from like Metro or something, I can't remember what it was, isn't great. Like just the fit around the radio, to me it's janky. I don't like this. I don't think it's great. Like the finish on this is actually okay. It kind of goes well with the factory interior. In fact, it's better than what I have in the S8. So I got to try to find this. And the pain is you use this kit in the S8 and you have to then hand file and sand and trim this down to fit the contour in the S8 because there was no kit at the time. Or I should look, maybe there is a kit now, but there was not before. So anyhow, these are held in with these awesome plastic clips, which this is my sole survivor at this point. That one just gave up the ghost moments ago while trying to remove this for the 27th and a half time. But yeah, they don't really, this unit just fits like crap. That's the primary rub, and this is maybe a dig on Crutchfield, maybe not. But you buy the whole kit and it says, like, oh yes, it fits. I kind of question how well it fits, but yeah, I can never get this thing to sit proper in here. It would always be a little proud on this side. So I'm gonna go in and probably hack out some bits of harness that I don't need if it looks like it'll help me at all. I hate doing that. Not factory harness, mind you, but the aftermarket stuff. And yeah, we're gonna try to get these stupid ground loop isolators to fit in here as well. So I think I'm gonna have to bury those down in here somewhere and get it all back up and plugged in, and it's gonna be fun. So just to illustrate the progression of ridiculousness, we have to basically fit this additional harness now into the mix. Not one, but two, actually probably 3 times. So this is gonna take some serious time and engineering to try to get all of this to fit. Yeesh. But I'm gonna throw the key in here and see if this thing actually does the trick. And I will also have to throw one in for the sub circuit here just to be on the safe side. So I've done many car stereos in my life, and I've had some pretty unpleasant fitment scenarios, but I've never ever had anything as stupid as this C5 series Audi. Again, like I said, if this didn't have the amp bundled on the back of it, it would not be a problem, but because of that, it's a huge problem. And yeah, I still think I'm gonna have to completely disassemble these sides down here and try to get things routed ahead of time. Probably use double-sided tape to get them to stick in specific places. Like, this is gonna take hours and hours to get this thing to fit. So this is, you know, the Crutchfield confirmed fitment I can confirm does not fit unless you are really creative. And if you buy that amp, it won't fit for sure. So anyhow, another day, another time-wasting, time suck of a project that I didn't even sign up for. There you go. That's how it goes. So after 6.5 weeks of installation, we have it in place, and we are reassembling things. We basically took these out in hopes of hiding things behind these panels, but as you can see, there's a vent that's part of the AC system. That's a plastic vent going to the rear, and there's metal cage up here, so there's just no room here. There's not even any room to hide anything. So we ended up having to tuck things down in little pockets wherever we could, and then push it the best we could. And it doesn't fit 100% perfect, but it's all right. It'll work. And so Ben's now reassembling all the lower panels that we took out for no reason. You know, that's how it goes sometimes. Thank you for watching.